Hi everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Ann Dwyer, and I'm a program manager with McMaster University Center for Continuing Education. I'm very pleased to host today's session, which I'm sure you will find informative and useful. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. If you do have questions during the session, please make sure to type them into the chat box that you see on the screen there. Do submit them as they come up. We will, however, hold off answering questions till the end of the presentation. And today's session is being recorded so that we can make it available to others who were not able to attend. As well, if you need to leave the session at any point or merely wish to review the content at a later date, a link to the recorded version will be sent to you as part of a follow-up email. Also, as a registrant of today's CPA webinar, you will receive a follow-up email from McMaster University, which will include not only a link to our upcoming course schedule, but also information on how to sign up for future notices, updates, and information directly from CPA Ontario, should you opt to do so. Just a quick note, although you provided your contact information and registered for today's session, including your email address, you submitted that to McMaster University. And unfortunately, we are unable to provide contact information to any third party, including CPA Ontario. CPA Ontario is a partner affiliate of ours, and I certainly encourage each and every one of you to take the time to stay in touch with CPA. There is a registration and a registration link that Sean will review with you in a moment. And again, we will include that in a follow-up email. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to welcome Sean Mullin, a student recruiter with CPA Ontario. And Sean is going to walk you through what it means to be a CPA and the process involved. So Sean, if you'd like to take that over.
Fantastic. So hi everybody, welcome. My name is Sean Mullin, and I am a student recruiter with CPA Ontario, and I have a fantastic job where I get to walk around, going around universities and talking to students about the profession, what's going on in the industry, what kind of careers are available to you, and to kind of walk you through that pathway. At the end of the presentation, I will share my contact information. The other roles that I take on is through academic advisement, and it is one of the metrics I'm measured on. So if you have any questions, you want to know about courses, pathways, how to engage the profession, how to position yourself for employment, anything related to CPA in your career, please do feel free to reach out to me and book an appointment. I'd be very, very happy to meet with you. So this page here, and again, this is the link that we'll send out later on. We want you to consider registering with CPA Ontario. It doesn't cost anything. It's just sharing your contact information to really get on a mailing list. We have nothing to sell you, but we want to let you know about all of the employer events and networking opportunities that we have made available to you. So one of the roles we play with the prospective students is to organize events where employers and CPAs, just like you, who've just gone through the process, will be in a room for you to network with, ask questions to, be inspired by, and to really map out what your journey might look like. So if you do want to get on that mailing list, the link is right there, cpaontario.ca/PSI events, and you'll see the Master CCE, the event there as well. So we're going to get started. Again, as Ann said, if you do have questions, feel free to write them down, or the chances are we may answer it in the next slide or so. We will answer those questions at the end of the presentation, so I look forward to that period of time. So CPA Ontario, so who are we? So CPA Ontario, we are essentially the trusted financial experts that are really leading organizations through change. Being a CPA means that you speak the language of business. And what is the language of business? We know that is numbers. Every company, every organization that you can possibly think of needs people that speak the language of business, that can understand what the numbers and data mean, and more importantly, that can stand up in front of boardrooms, in front of teams, and in front of managers and say, look, this is what these numbers mean. This is what our company needs to do. This is the direction we need to go. So this is why CPAs, you'll generally find, and you just go on LinkedIn, you'll see are really in leadership positions in companies. And that's because for a company to be successful, they need individuals who understand what is going on, who can see the big picture, and make good decisions based on that. So, you're really entering a career, considering a career that is both future-proof and allows you to work in any organization, in any industry, with unbelievable amounts of growth. I mean, I meet CPAs every day, and I'm just completely inspired by the work that they do. And the fact that, when you're someone that is talking about the financials of an organization, you're going to get exposure to high-level people in the organization at a very early stage in your career. So there's a lot of benefits there that we'll talk about as we go forward. So you're joining the profession. We have 210,000 members in Canada. That's more than all the doctors and lawyers combined. And what we're really doing here is tapping into the largest professional network in Canada. So your CPA letters that you earn is not the end of a journey, it's actually the start of a career. And you'll see when you come to these events, if you do get on our mailing list, there's a great culture of volunteerism, a great culture of giving back and helping the profession move along, and you get to really tap that. So no person is an island, and you certainly get a wealth of resources with your fellow CPAs when you're joining the profession. As a member, you'll be joining CPA Ontario, and why that's relevant, we are the largest province, so we have the largest amount of members there. And so there's literally a phone that you will call if you're a CPA, if you're having issues at work and you're trying to figure out how to reconcile some financial statements, or you're working on an audit, or whatever your issue may be within finance, you can call and talk to senior CPAs and get their advice and get their input. So again, there's this incredible support system. There's professional development we do along the way. And really, to highlight my earlier point, if you look at the second line there, of the top 50 companies in Canada, over 500 CPAs are in senior executive level positions in those companies. And again, how do you become a top 50 company in Canada? Well, you need to have people that know the numbers. You need to have people that can interpret that and can really present on that to the organization. I was meeting with a partner of a major accounting firm a couple weeks ago, and he said to me, Sean, the number one skill in business is decision making. Can you make a better decision than the next person with the same data set? And that's what being a CPA is all about, is that ability to make a good decision that can drive the business forward and be ultimately successful. So my background, I've spent a number of years traveling overseas. If any of you have ever considered the opportunity to travel, I really highly recommend it. It's a really transformative, amazing experience. But the problem with traveling is that you can go to most countries, but you can't live there and you can't work there unless you have a special designation. You can do it if you're a teacher or other, and you can actually do it if you're a CPA. We have almost 13,000 CPAs around the world right now, living and working in many countries. And you can see the average salary based on a 2017 census is $271,000 for those who are living abroad. Now, I think there's great value in the experience itself, but you can see that there's for countries like the United Kingdom, the UAE, Switzerland, Hong Kong, Bermuda, those salaries soar in the north of $300,000. For those of you looking to work more domestically, these are some of the salaries, not right when you get designated, but it isn't uncommon to have people, in the six-figure range within 5 to 10 years of being designated. And I do hesitate to show this slide for a number of reasons. One is that all you need to do is look at articles about lottery winners a year later and see that money isn't the source of all happiness. I mean, it's great to have, and of course, this is the return on this investment you're making. But to me, when I talk to CPAs, the real selling point here is the fact that you can work in any industry, for any company, anywhere in the world. I cannot think of any designation that allows you that kind of flexibility. And when you have the ability to work for any company in any industry, it affords you choice. And when you have choice in your career, then you can really start to focus on, where am I going to be the most happy? Where am I going to be able to find a meaningful career with an organization that I can get up every day and be excited to go into work, knowing that I'm going to have real impact as a decision maker in that organization? That is the real attractive feature about the CPA. And I encourage you to, if you're really considering this as your career, why not come out to these networking events, meet CPAs, and be inspired by them? You'll be in their shoes in a few short years. So why not take their advice and their inspiration and maybe even some mentorship along that way? So some interesting stats for you. We have a lot, for those of you who were engaging in networking activities or employment activities within your undergrad, you hear a lot about public practice or the Big Four or the audit and assurance firms. And of course, that's a great career for a lot of people who are leaning towards that. And a lot of people on this webinar today may end up at a firm. And that's great if that's the route you want to go. But you may be surprised to learn that only 18% of all CPAs work in public practice. That's not just the Big Four. That's the Big Four mid-tier firms like M&P, Grant Thornton, Richter, and even small, mom and pop shops. 18%. So where's everybody else? Well, they're in every single organization, as I mentioned, in every industry, nonprofit, government, industry, finance, banking. They're in all of those places. So again, you have these incredible careers. And how do you know which one is for you? Where should I be leaning towards? Well, you got to come out to these events and start networking with CPAs and find out what's the right fit for you. Another interesting statistic is that 75% of all chief financial officers in Canada are CPAs. And that number really shouldn't surprise you. What does a CFO have to do? Well, within their organization, they need to know the numbers. They need to be ultimately accountable for every decision based on those numbers. And they need to be able to stand up in their boardroom and take that interpretation, take that understanding and explain it to the non-accounting people in the room who aren't fluent in the language of business in layman's terms to say, look, this is what these numbers mean. We had some tough decisions to make in our organization. We need to go in this direction. And here's the map and the recommendations that I'm making. So again, we're talking about so many CPAs who are working in the finance sector. And for some people used to think, oh, accounting's over here and finance over here. They really are mostly one and the same. So a lot of CPAs working in finance for organizations, and we have 1 in 15 CPAs own their own business. So as you work towards if you're working for a firm and you have a lot of clients and you're learning about their business and you're getting everything understood at a macro level before you are making recommendations and consulting with them, well, it's a matter of time before you realize, hey, I can do this on my own. And we have a lot of CPAs who have gone that route. So that's a pretty significant number. All right, so we'll talk about a couple of CPAs. So this is a route that many people have taken. Now, those of you on the presentation here, you have a different bachelor's degree, and we'll explain how that works. But essentially, after you've met the prerequisite requirements, you're going to do what's called the professional education program. And while you're doing that, you're going to be working. So I'll explain that in a bit more detail. But here we just want to showcase the fact that, Lindsay, had got her undergrad in accounting, so she was ready to start the program in her early 20s, and before she was 26, she was already an account manager. And a Neha's example, because Neha was actually one of our keynote speakers for a huge conference we held last year. And I love telling Neha's story because she got her CPA designation and she started at Deloitte for 3 years, and then she worked for a bank for 2 years, and then she decided to quit business altogether. And you can see she wanted to pursue her dream of comedy. So she went to Second City, Toronto, took a master's in comedy, started shooting some commercials. And the reason I share this example is that Neha was able to take this huge risk to follow her dream and to leave business altogether because she had the ultimate safety net. She still had recruiters calling her every single week. She knew she could come back into business anytime she wanted because she had that CPA designation that was so highly and widely regarded. In fact, what she's done is now started her own consulting firm, and Neha is, I believe, 27 years old. So again, this is an amazing representation of the things you can do in your career. All right, let's talk about the guidelines. So we need you to have a 120 credit hour degree or equivalent to a 4-year degree in any subject from any country. So if you have a degree already, then you're in good shape to start this program. Now, all you need to take to join us is the 14 CPA prerequisite courses, which we'll describe in a moment, and that's what you'll take through McMaster Concurrent Education. So once you've taken the 14 courses, you'll submit your transcripts, then you'll join so it's not a 6-month, there's a typo there. It's actually a 2-year professional education program, which I'll describe in the next slide. So this visual here, I think, is a bit more easy to digest. So we have a degree that you're going to get and these 14 prerequisites. So keep in mind these 14 in the big blue box, those are the prerequisite subject areas. So knowing those in the blue box, I'm just going to switch here to what the McMaster Concurrent Education process looks like specifically. So if you remember the blue box, that is the center column, those courses here. And we divide them into two categories. The top box is our non-core, which means you get 50% in each of these courses. In the blue box here is what we call our core courses, where you need to get a 60% in each as a minimum with an overall average of 65. Should you fail to get a 60 in each of them, then you just retake the course and we take the higher mark. If you are transitioning from a university in which you may have taken some of these courses, so some of you on the call today may have taken a degree in management or a degree in finance, and you're looking at some of these saying, hey, I took statistics or I took economics. Great, so you're going to want to submit your transcript with CPA to see which one of these we will give you credit for. That way you can come back to Anne and her team and say, well, CPA says that I get exemptions from economics, statistics, and introductory financial accounting. Now you know that you only need to take another 9 or 10 courses. So if you want to learn more about how to submit your transcripts and which courses may be exempt, this is the perfect thing to book a meeting with me about. I'd be happy to walk you through the process. But I just say that because you will want to, if you do have a business degree or any of these courses that you may recognize from another university, you may want to don't have to take all of them over again if you don't have to. That being said, if any of the core courses you see there were ones that you took over 10 years ago, they will be beyond our currency of education. So if you took a bachelor's degree in business back in 2005, and you took tax or you took corporate finance, unfortunately, it's beyond the currency of education. We will ask you to take those again. So there's what you need to do in order to make up the prerequisites. And once that is done, you are ready to do the CPA Professional Education Program, which I'll describe to you next. I talked about that. So here we are. This is our professional education program. This is the time that you turn from an ordinary law-abiding citizen into a chartered professional accountant superhero. The course is designed for you to be working full time. So I know some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, I get these prerequisites done and then I got to go to school for another 2 years. No, it's not like that. We want you to be learning on the job. The profession wants you to be learning through experience. So what essentially is happening here is you'll do some of these modules, part-time self-study, and you're taking that learning and really complementing it with full-time work. So you're going at night, you're learning a bit about financial reporting, strategy, and government, and then during the day, you're actually putting that into practice. And we know that when you're doing the work, physically doing it, that's when a lot of the learning really happens. So we want to, this program is about 2 years part-time. It can be as fast as 18 months if you do start our Core 1 in May. And our Core 1, Core 2 is when you get a really high level understanding of all of our 6 technical areas. So it's okay if you're someone that's saying, look, I'm a really good potential CPA, but I don't really like tax. That's fine. You only need to do it here at a very high level. It's just that a CPA will do so many things in their career and will go in so many different directions that we do need you to have at least a basic level understanding of all of these 6 technical competencies. Then as we get into the electives, this is where you take a deep dive into what you want to be really good at. So usually this is aligned with the type of work that you're doing. If you happen to be at a firm, you'll probably do assurance and tax. If you are a financial analyst at a company, obviously you do finance, performance management. You don't have to link these up with what you're doing at work. It usually makes sense. People want to do that, but you're really free to choose what it is that you want to do here. And then we get into the capstones. Now the capstone is where we put you with 6 strangers in a group and you're going to solve and present on a business case. Now, just like the real world, and many of you are working full-time, you know what I'm talking about, you don't get to choose the people you work with. You have to work together and solve problems together. And that's really what a CPA is all about. You're not just a technical person. You're not just a robot. You're someone that has these very, very important soft skills. Now, one of the things I do in my role, I talk to employers, I talk to senior executives across multiple organizations, and I ask them, I say, what does you look for in an applicant? What is it you're looking for when someone comes into your organization? They say, well, we all need the technical. That's a given. Everyone has that. That's their transcript. What really matters to us here at this company is soft skills. Does this person have the ability to communicate? Do they have the ability to learn? Can they think critically? Can they problem solve? Can they make decisions and justify those decisions with evidence? And the reason that's important is that the technical stuff is always going to change, right? AI coming in, we have automation. So, it's not about debits and credits anymore. It's about, increasingly about data analytics and information technology. So you need to be able to have the skills to change and show that you can change and learn and grow with the times. And that's where the soft skills are so important, because you can have the best ideas in the world, but if you can't stand up in that boardroom and communicate those ideas and be an influencer within your organization and industry, then you really don't have the use to your organization. So the capstones are where we really develop those skills and we really see those skills come into practice. And I'll explain a bit more later. But essentially you do the business case to present that, and then the capstone 2 is your presentation, is your exam review, and then the common final exam is at the end of that. Now, very important piece of information for you. If you have existing work or any previous work in accounting or finance, we will give you up to 12 months of credit towards your practical experience. Looking at this practical experience down here, you have to complete 30 months total of practical work experience in addition to the education piece in the common exam for your designation. Now, these two can happen independently. I mean, you don't have to have a job right away to start Core 1 or be working in finance to start Core 1. You can start at any time. But you'll get your designation once you've finished your exam and you have 30 months of practical experience. But many people on the call are here because you got a job and you start in accounts payable or you're an accounting clerk somewhere. The good news is we will count up to 12 months of that experience, assuming it meets certain criteria. Now, how do I know if it meets the criteria? That's the kind of stuff you want to meet with me about, and we'll walk you through that. The experience has to be within 5.5 years, and it can be in any country. So again, we want to give you credit and recognize the fact that you have already learned a lot of this stuff, and we don't want you to have to start from scratch. So anyone here on the call on the webinar is thinking, oh boy, I'm behind the 8 ball, I'm coming to this late. Not at all. We're gonna give you a head start based on the stuff that you've done already. Okay, so this is essentially the heart of a CPA. This is what really distinguishes you as a business professional. On the left, we have the 6 technical competencies. This is the stuff that you have to show that you've done throughout your learning, and of course you'll apply that throughout your career. But the big stuff, the really important stuff, the stuff that is that they're going to talk to you about in your interview, the stuff that tests you on the capstone, the stuff that makes you an influencer and that sets CPAs apart in the business world are those enabling competencies. Your professional and ethical behavior, your problem solving, your decision making, communication, self-management. I know of some interviews with some big firms where they don't ask you a single accounting question. They want to know about this stuff. How do you problem solve? Where's the evidence of that? Tell me about that stuff. So the nice thing is that this is all built into this process. It's all built into the learning journey that you take with CPA. When you are doing your practical work experience, your boss, who doesn't have to be a CPA, will be checking off, did you do the technical stuff? Along the way, you're going to have a CPA mentor that you get to choose. Your CPA mentor is going to be meeting with you or so to see how are you developing in those enabling competencies. How are you showing self-management this month? How are you showing teamwork and leadership? And are you displaying the characteristics becoming of a member? So all of this wonderful training and mentorship is with you along the journey throughout the CPA PEP program. Okay, so practical work experience. Our practical work experience is divided into 2 possible routes. The first is the experience verification route. This allows you to work for any company, anywhere, and you will report on your work experience. That's essentially the big difference between these two. Who does the reporting? Pre-approved program just means that the company hires so many CPAs every year that we've gone in and done an audit of their program and said, great, so the company can report for you. That's really the big difference between the two. Most of the pre-approved programs do recruit out of undergrad, so a lot of the students that are coming in through the mature student route will go the experience verification route, which is fine. More than half of the CPAs do that route. You can work for any company. It could be an ice cream store. It doesn't matter. As long as you're doing accounting or finance type work, then you're on the experience verification route and you're going to be reporting on the work experience, and that's just fine. So there's more information about that on the website, which you're free to check out. There's also a list, if you Google pre-approved programs, CPA Ontario, you'll see a list of about 800 companies in Ontario that are part of the pre-approved route. About 20% of those aren't listed, but they do exist, and that's because they want those companies want people just to apply a genuine interest for that organization and not because it's a pre-approved program. So those essentially are the two routes. And again, like, you don't have to be working for a bank or working for any kind of organization. Like I said, it can be any company. There's actually a pathway available if you are an entrepreneur. It's a bit more paperwork, but it's possible. But as long as you're doing the accounting work, and the finance work, that's what matters. All right, so just to review, you've got your degree already. You'll take these 14 prerequisite courses, or possibly less than 14, depending on a transcript assessment result from CPA, if you believe you have some exemptions. And then you'll submit your transcripts during the last term of your degree. So this is important because if you only have 4 courses left and you're taking those 4 courses in January, then you want to start at the very beginning of that last term to submit your transcripts so you can start with CPA right away. So if you're approaching the end of your studies or your final semester, do engage with us because there's some timing around that. Takes weeks to process your scripts. All right, so things that you can access once you do become a CPA student. We do have jobs boards. We do have resources for you. We do want you to be successful throughout the program. In terms of the common final exam, which you hear a lot about, it is a grueling 3-day exam, but there's all kinds of support systems in place. You do have 3 chances to write it. If you fail the first time, our student services support team kicks in. We're going to work with you on learning plans and outcomes and where are the gaps and all that stuff. After 3 chances of writing it, 95% of the writers do pass it after 3 chances. So, we're going to help you along this journey. There's nothing to be worried about. There's lots of support in place, as I mentioned. So the second last thing I'll say, this is my contact information. Please do send me an email if you ever want to book an advisement session. There's no cost. I'm measured by that, so you are doing me a favor every time you want to meet, so thank you for that. And if you do want CPA to email you about our networking events, our employer events, so you can start making connections, follow this link, take a screenshot. We'll send something around an email as well, but you might as well do it today, cpaontario.ca. And then you'll find the McMaster thing listed there. And we will now open it up to I'll leave that right there, and it will open up to any questions, unless, Anne, you want to do a sign-off?
I just want to let me just do a couple of notes here. Thanks very much, Sean. That was really good. I just want to go back a minute to our slides here. I just want to show our McMaster University. Today's session really is about the CPA. We actually held at McMaster University an information session about our accounting programs a few weeks ago. And just to reiterate, courses offered under McMaster University's continuing education division do qualify by prerequisite studies to PEP. And as recently as I believe it was yesterday or the day, end of November, but we received these updates yesterday. So this slide here, and this again will be on our website. You will receive a link to the actual chart. But this chart identifies the courses that are required as part of the prerequisite studies, prerequisite entrance to PEP. And these are McMaster University's Center for Continuing Education course equivalencies. And these courses, again, will be listed on our website, and we will send you, as a registrant of today's session, an actual link, an attachment that shows these charts. In addition, for those who are looking to pursue their ACAF as opposed to the CPA designation, we are in the process of having our accounting diploma program accredited. We are developing the applied courses, and we anticipate having accreditation in place in January, if not sooner. I had hoped to have word today, but there are just a few more T's to cross and I's dot, so that's forthcoming. We do currently offer all of the entry-level courses as well as the technical courses that are recognized by CPA towards ACAF certification, and we are currently working on the applied. So keep that in mind. Just a word of mention. We do have an upcoming semester that starts in January. We offer courses in both face-to-face, part-time, and accelerated format, as well as online self-study. So we do have continuous intake. I will show at the end of the session the actual web page that you can go to and to keep in touch with us. So if you're interested in having a look to see what we offer by way of courses this coming winter term, have a look at our website at mcmastercc.ca/accounting. There you'll find course descriptions, our upcoming schedule, course fees, and our registration process. And again, any additional questions, reach out to Sean or myself here at McMaster University if it's specific to our diploma or certificate in accounting, and we'll certainly get the answers for you. And I thank you very much. Sean, thanks very much.
Bye, everyone.